How we doing, friends? Welcome back again to Male Nurse Mentor. We got another video here. This one, I hope as well you can find value in it. I got a good comment the other day. I just want to read it. We're going to break it down in this video today. So shout out to Zinny O. I appreciate it. And also for anybody else, if you guys have any comments, any questions, leave them down below. If it's a simple question, I'll answer it right then and there in the comments. If it's something that requires a little bit more substance, a little bit more depth, I'll probably make a video on it. Maybe give you a shout out. So for this one, friends, the comment reads, "Hey bro, was wondering on if you could talk on your experience before becoming a nurse. What made you decide to do nursing? Did you always know you wanted to go into it? Got some people around me saying I shouldn't go into it and how I wouldn't like it because of X reason. Have you been through anything like that with family members?" And then he's like, big topics, but I think it could make for a good video. I agree. Appreciate the work you're doing here, brother. Keep it up. Hearts. And I appreciate it, man. Thank you. So yeah, let's break this question down. We'll answer it in this video here today. So for this first part, what was my experience before becoming a nurse? Well, I'm gonna let you know. I didn't do anything in healthcare. For me, nursing was like the last thing I thought of that I wanted to do growing up. I never even thought about it. It didn't even cross my mind. It was at the very end of my senior year, right when I had to sign up for community college classes and decide on a major. Only then was when I really decided to go down this route. So my experience before then was just typical. I worked retail. I worked at Aeropostale. I was there for 4 years. From the age of like 16 to like 20, 21 or so, until I transferred out to a 4-year school as a side gig, just trying to make some money, right? Getting minimum wage. I was actually a behind the floor stocker, putting sensors on clothes and, stocking the stock room, which was a super chill gig. I played music back there and again, it's nothing to do with healthcare, but it was a good side hustle, making some money, right? While I'm doing my prerequisite classes. I'd go to school, go to work, make a little bit of money, and then during the summer I'd actually work at a local aquatic park as well. I'd do that every summer. It was just seasonal, so there'd be periods of time where I would work 2 jobs, but again, nothing to do with nursing, nothing to do with healthcare. That's why for me, one thing that I've said when people have asked me is like, when you're in school, you don't need to find a healthcare job. You can go work at a coffee shop, you can go work in retail, go work at Lowe's or Home Depot. Just a little side hustle in case you need some money, but you don't have to be a CNA. You don't have to be a home health aide. You don't have to do that. Will it help? It will. You'll get more experience, right, in healthcare. You'll probably be ahead of the curve, right, when it goes to applying for a job at a hospital. But it's not a requirement. You don't have to do that. So just keep that in mind. This next part to the question. Did you always know you wanted to go into nursing, right? Did you know you always wanted to go into it? I'll be honest, friends. Like I had mentioned, it wasn't until right when I'm signing for my classes, to go at a community college, right when I'm signing for the major, I got to select. Like when you go to sign for classes, right, you have to identify your major. For me, for the longest time, I thought I was going to be like criminal justice or something like that. And the reason is because for the whole chunk of my childhood, I thought I was going to grow up to be a detective. That is what I thought truly I was going to be when I grew up, was going to be a detective. And eventually, as I got older, I realized, well, you can't just go and be a detective. You got to be a police officer. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be a police officer. And then maybe one day I'll be a detective. So for the longest time, I thought I was going to be that. I thought I was going to join law enforcement, be a police officer, and live that life, right? Eventually, my thought process started to change. I realized, I don't know if I can actually, pull the trigger on somebody, right? And then some other thoughts kind of crept in, like, I don't know if I want to live that lifestyle, right? It's a pretty harsh lifestyle, especially nowadays. And then eventually, friends, like the same ideation was going all the way creeping in until when I had to sign up for classes. And it was at that point in community college when I had to sign up for my prerequisite classes or a major when I decided, what, I'd rather have a lifestyle of being a nurse. I'm not in danger every single day. I don't have to deal with these politics and other things, right, that are going on. So at that point is when I signed up to become a nurse. Signed up for my prerequisites, and boom, I was on a journey to go become a registered nurse. And I knew it was a solid career. There's other reasons why I chose it over being in law enforcement. I'm in less danger, a lot of options, a lot of opportunities, a lot of places I can work, a lot of job security, and they pay well. I realized I actually do make quite a bit of money here in California. So for all these things, I went into nursing, right? But don't think that my whole life I wanted to be a nurse. And it doesn't have to be that way. Try not to feel bad going into nursing with that mindset. I think a lot of people don't speak about it openly, but the reality is not everybody grew up wanting to be a nurse. And that's a big message that I like to push. Just because you have that mindset doesn't mean you're not going to be a great nurse one day. It's just you being honest, right? Just like someone grew up and maybe they're an electrician, or they grew up and they're a teacher now, or maybe they're a flight attendant or a pilot. They work in IT or something, right? Like, a career doesn't have to be that calling type of thing. You could be a nurse and be a great nurse and it not having ever been your calling. And I think that's important to share. So that's a good question. I'm glad I finally kind of was able to answer that in more detail. So for this next part of the question, right, got some people around me saying I shouldn't go into it and how I wouldn't like it because of X reason. Have you been through anything like that with family members? This is a good one. A lot of this ties into, I'm assuming, right, because you're a male and you're trying to go into a female-dominated profession, right, as a nurse. We're still fighting the stereotype, guys. We're still fighting the stereotype that only women go into nursing, right? Or, hey, my nurse will be in a second, and a male comes in. And, there's like a disconnect there, right? They're probably expecting a female. It's getting better, it's gotten better, but it continues to linger. And a lot of family members may continue to kind of bring up that idea. Who's to say you're not going to like being a nurse? It's like saying, and honestly, I don't even know what I would compare it to, because nursing is one of the only fields where I say you can get a nursing degree and you can work in something so unrelated to bedside. So it's like, I'm just trying to think of what other career would be like that. And I was thinking maybe sales, but again, you could just not like sales in general. But I was thinking sales because you can work in sales and clothing and start your own business and other things like that. So it's like very broad. But nursing is also very broad. I never worked bedside. I never worked professionally in a hospital. I only did that during school. I actually, when I got into the workforce, I went into the correctional setting. So far and removed from bedside, so different from customer service, right? And eventually, I'm hoping to step away even further than this, right? Maybe do more of a nurse consultant, desk type job, right? Maybe work for the Department of Healthcare somewhere, right? There's so many areas in nursing. It's so broad. You can do psych, you can do aesthetic nursing. There's nurses that even remove tattoos. There's like so many areas as a nurse you can work. You could be like a coach, right, for nursing, in terms of like nutrition or healthcare advice. They have advice RNs on that work remotely just from the phone line. There's so many different areas you can work. So for family members to go in there and say, hey, you're not gonna like it because of all these other reasons, it doesn't really hold much weight, I guess is what I'm trying to say. As a nurse, there's so many areas you can work. You will eventually find the right place for you. Your job should just be to focus on getting the degree and then eventually finding your home. You're gonna find it. Maybe you have to put up with some things you don't want to do in the meantime, right? Until you land that gig that you want. But if you're just persistent and you just continue to try, right? You think outside the box, you can eventually get to that spot. Find a good spot you like. Oftentimes you'll notice that nurses that don't like nursing, they get burnt out because they're working bedside. And I get it. I chose to never work bedside. I already knew I didn't like it from school. So for me, what did I do? Well, I found an alternate route. I found somewhere else that I did like, and I went for it, despite what people were telling me to do, right? Despite people telling me to work bedside, go ahead, get your experience. I said, I'm good. I'm gonna follow this route instead. And here I am, friends, telling you now, after I've done it, that it will work as well. There's a spot for you. There will be. So overall, friends, those are the 3 questions. I just think they're important. If you guys have any follow-up questions to anything that I've said, leave them down in the comments down below. But I feel like this was a pretty good video just to give you some more depth to me as a person, my mindset going into nursing, and a little bit in terms of, just making you realize that nursing is such a broad profession. Just because you don't like something, right, doesn't mean you're not going to find a home. You will. You can work in so many different places. I can't even compare it to any other career, to be honest. Go into nursing, get your degree, and you're going to find a spot for you. I know you will. I am the perfect example of someone who didn't want to grow up to be a nurse. I was going to go be a police officer, and eventually I just made the pivot, adjusted, and what I want is a good outcome to my future, right? I chose nursing as my shovel, as my avenue to get that. And what that means to me is making good money, having a good work-life balance, having good job security, not having to worry about my career. Choose nursing and you'll get a lot of those boxes checked off. But as always, friends, I always enjoy these videos. I always enjoy giving you guys value. If there's anything at all you guys need, reach out to me. I'm here to just help provide value and assistance and some mentorship. Reach out to me on Instagram. Some people already have. Leave a comment down below. I'm always here. See you guys on the next one.